An Ode to the Pilgrim of Rust and Bone, a technical and theological analysis of a post-apocalyptic playstyle. What follows is an analysis not merely of a game, but of a philosophy enacted, a purpose forged from the detritus of a dead world. The collection of images, a blend of raw gameplay data and mythologized portraiture, reveals a singular and profound narrative. This is the epic of the skull-clad pilgrim, a figure whose playstyle is a cyclical ritual, a technical process of worldly resurrection that borders on the theological. This essay will deconstruct the inherent themes, symbolisms, and structures to reveal a destiny not merely of survival, but of becoming a foundational myth in an age of ruin. The first cycle, the liturgy of scavenging. The journey begins in the ashes. The world, as seen in the gameplay screenshots e.g., images 2, 5, and 10, is a fractured, empty vessel. It is a quarry, a sparse woodland, a field of decaying crops. For the uninitiated, it is an end. But for this player, it is a hymnal of possibility. The core mechanic, the first act in this repeating ceremony, is scavenging. This is not mere looting, it is a form of technical archaeology. The large wooden base stash, image 1, is the sacred text of this philosophy. It is a reliquary containing the fragmented grammar of a lost civilization, X39 metal pipes, X72 rusty cans, X59 bolts, X57 gears, X16 barbed wire, X23 batteries. Each item is a word, a phoneme of function stripped of its original context. The player does not see junk, they see potential energy, a litany of components waiting for the correct incantation to grant them new life. The act of gathering is thus the first keyword cycle: ruin right pointing arrow observation right pointing arrow collection right pointing arrow potential. This player is a master of this cycle. Their vast, organized inventory is not hoarding, it is the amassed dogma of a creed of rebirth. They walk through the wasteland and read its story, collecting the syllables of the past to write the epic of the future. 2. The second cycle, the forge's altar and the alchemy of purpose. If scavenging is the gathering of scripture, then crafting is the sermon. The collected potential from the first cycle finds its purpose here. The artwork's images 3 and 8 elevate this process from a simple game mechanic to a holy act. We see the pilgrim, their skull visage overlooking a nascent workshop. A furnace glows, its smoke a dark pillar against a jaundiced sky, a signal of creation in a world of decay. This is the forge as an altar. Here, the alchemical transmutation occurs. The bolts, pipes, and wires from the stash are not merely combined, they are resurrected. The player, this demiurge of the wastes, imposes order on chaos. The gameplay loop becomes a structured formula: potential right arrow intent right arrow craft right arrow function. A rifle is not just a weapon, it is the will to survive made manifest from scrap. Ribcage armor is not just protection, it is a philosophical statement hammered into being. The crafting stations, the anvil, the workbench, the furnace, are the sacred heart of this playstyle. They are the nexus where the pilgrim's legacy is physically constructed, piece by painstaking piece. This cycle transforms the player from a scavenger into a creator, a techno-necromancer reanimating the very concept of tool from the corpse of technology. 3. The third cycle, memento mori, is a weaponized theology. The most potent symbolism in this entire collection is the pilgrim's chosen avatar, the skull mask and the exposed ribcage armor. This is a profound statement of intent. In the old world, the memento mori, the reminder of death, was a call to humility and piety. Here, in the post-apocalypse, it has been inverted. It is a tool, a weapon, and a declaration of mastery. By cloaking themselves in the icon of death, the pilgrim achieves several tactical and philosophical victories. Intimidation. To face this figure is to face a walking corpse, an anku from the wastelands, an omen of your own demise. It breeds fear and hesitation in opponents. Images 2, 5, 6. Anonymity. The mask strips away the last vestiges of the old self. There is no Arren Sawyer, the name visible on the HUD. There is only the archetype, a force of nature. Mastery over fear. To wear death is to claim ownership of it. The constant, visceral reminder of mortality is not a source of fear for the pilgrim, but a source of focus. It is the understanding that life is a finite resource, to be utilized with ruthless efficiency. This aesthetic choice is not cosmetic, it is the central pillar of the pilgrim's theology. It powers the third cycle. Function right pointing arrow confrontation right pointing arrow domination right pointing arrow survival. The armor and weapons forged in the second cycle are wielded by the death figure of the third. We see them aiming a rifle image 6, stalking through the woods with an assault rifle and crossbow image 7, and standing ready with a shotgun and shovel image 8. They have embraced the eschatological reality of their world and turned it into their greatest strength. IV. The final cycle. The emergence of legacy. What is the ultimate purpose? Survival is the process, but it is not the destination. The sheer scale of the collected resources, the established base, and the character's progression 29 Latvian laches to 34 Latvian laches point toward a goal beyond mere subsistence. The final cycle is one of survival right pointing arrow stability right pointing arrow legacy right pointing arrow myth. The most telling image is the final artwork image 9. Here, the pilgrim stands, a creator god in their domain of ruin and recreation. They hold a book, a symbol of knowledge, law, or perhaps a new chronicle. At their feet sits a small, complete skeleton, not a threat, but a student, a child, a symbol of a new generation born into this world. Behind them, a ruined city looms, the past they are building upon. This is not the image of a man just trying to see the next sunrise. This is the image of a founder. The player's destiny is to transmute survival into a permanent foothold. The legacy is the established, fortified base, the accumulated knowledge of crafting, and the very fear and respect their icon commands. The purpose is to become more than a survivor. It is to become a legend, a fixed point of order and strength in the chaos. The M866, image 4 carved into their armor a new designation for a new kind of man. They are the being from which new stories will be told, a myth who walked out of the ash, wearing the face of death, to teach the world how to live again. The playstyle is not a game, it is the deliberate construction of a legend. An ontological exegesis of the survivor artisan, destiny, praxis, and legacy in the irradiated crucible. What follows is a detailed technical narrative and philosophical interpretation of the emergent playstyle, thematic structures, and existential intents derived from the provided visual data stream. This analysis is framed as an epic ode, dissecting the core informational memes and their cyclical interplay. Proem. The Echo in the Ash. Behold the world undone, a canvas scoured by an unseen fire, where mountains weep dust and forests whisper with the half-life of memory. Into this desolation walks the progenitor, a figure cast not in the mold of old humanity, but reforged in the very crucible of its end. This is not a tale of mere survival, but an epic of existential artisanship, a relentless pursuit of purpose in a realm stripped of it. The gameplay narrative is a tripartite scripture written in actions, not words, revolving around a trinity of core cycles: reclamation, creation, and dominion. The character is a paradox, a walking memento mori clad in the bones of the dead, who is singularly obsessed with the propagation of life and legacy. The first cycle, Reclamation Perpetuum Vexillum, the constant scourge. The foundational praxis of this existence is reclamation. The progenitor moves through the world not as a conqueror, but as a metaphysical scavenger, a grave digger of civilization. Themes and symbolism. The shovel, held as prominently as the shotgun in the introductory portrait, is not merely a tool for entrenchment but the primary instrument of this cycle. It is the means by which the past is unearthed, not for sentiment, but for raw potential. The world is a layered tomb, and every rusted component, every forgotten blueprint, every mutated flora is a resource. The prominent, radiation zone, signifier acts as a theological boundary, a constant, invisible pressure that defines the sacred and the profane. To enter the zone is a transgression that promises both lethal penalty and profound reward, a necessary baptism in the world's pervasive poison. The character's own form, often draped in skeletal effigy, mirrors this theme. They must become one with the iconography of death to reclaim the constituent parts of life. Structures and intent. The gameplay loop is one of calculated pilgrimage. The user interface (UI) elements, such as the quest, go to the railway station, indicate a world structured around the derelict nodes of the former civilization. These are not dungeons in a fantastical sense, but industrial necropolises. The intent is to compel the player into a state of perpetual, observant motion. The act of gathering resources, such as the pile of glistening ore, possibly gold or sulfur, at the feet of the armored figure, is the primary form of progress. The core mechanic is a function of risk versus reward, where survival probability, P_survivor, is inversely proportional to the resource density, ρ_resource, of a given area. P_survivor propto frac 1 ρ_resource times lambda_threat. Where lambda_threat is the constant of environmental and biological hostility. This cycle is the thesis of the gameplay: to take, to gather, to absorb the ashes of what was. 2. The second cycle, Creation Fabrica de Novo, the forging anew. From the chaos of reclamation emerges the divine act of creation. This is the cycle where the progenitor transcends from mere survivor to artisan and architect, imposing logos upon a landscape of entropy. Themes and symbolism. The forge, the workbench, and the sputtering campfire are the altars of this new world. Smoke rising from a chimney in the wilderness is not a sign of pollution but a declaration of existence, a bold, I am, against the silent sky. The visual data showing the player-built base, with its pragmatic, angular stone structures and meticulously arranged crafting stations, reveals the core of this cycle. It is the transformation of raw material materia into functional form forma. The quest, make ethanol, is a microcosm of this entire philosophy, transmuting simple organic matter into a complex and vital resource, fuel, antiseptic, weapon. This is alchemy for the end times. Structures and intent. This cycle is the player's anchor. It provides the mechanical framework for gear progression, shelter, and resource management. The construction of a base is the creation of a personal cosmos, a zone of order carved directly from the wilderness. This is the player's tangible legacy. It is a system designed to foster attachment and investment. The shelter is not just a respawn point, it is a testament to the player's labor, a repository for their reclaimed history, and the fortress from which they will project their will. The intent is to establish a feedback loop. Reclamation provides the materials for creation, and creation provides the tools to make reclamation more efficient and survivable. The process is a dialectic, reclamation to creation to enhanced reclamation. 3. The third cycle, dominion, certum in mortis, the struggle of death. The final cycle is dominion, the violent antithesis to the world's inherent hostility. Once a legacy is forged, it must be defended. Once a territory is claimed, it must be held. Themes and symbolism. The progenitor is both hunter and hunted. The confrontation with the hulking, taurine beast is symbolic of humanity's new place in the food chain, a position that is contested and must be reasserted through violence. This is the struggle against the unthinking chaos of the mutated world PvE. More profound, however, is the confrontation with the thinking chaos represented by other survivors, as seen in the sniper vignettes. In this world, another human silhouette on the horizon is the ultimate harbinger of existential threat. The skull mask and bone armor reach their final symbolic apotheosis here. It is a declaration of intent. I have seen the face of death, and I have chosen to wear it. I am the predator you did not account for. Structures and intent. The playstyle bifurcates into distinct combat doctrines. The shotgun represents the brutal, close-quarters defense of the established legacy, the last stand weapon. The scoped rifle represents the projection of power, the elimination of threats before they can manifest, the tool of the sovereign. The UI, with its hotbar of varied weapons, grenades, and tools like the pickaxe, a reclamation tool that doubles as a desperate weapon, forces tactical choice. The RPG elements of leveling up 34 Latvian laches signify a quantifiable increase in the player's capacity for dominion. The ultimate purpose, the destiny of the progenitor, emerges from this cycle. It is not to rebuild the old world, but to achieve sovereignty within the new one. This is a Gnostic struggle. The world is a flawed creation, a prison, and the progenitor, through knowledge crafting, will, fortification, and action combat, seeks to become its master. Emergence and conclusion. The will to legacy. The emergent narrative is not one of hope in the traditional sense, but of purpose forged from function. The destiny of the player character is not pre-written, it is the sum total of these repeating cycles. The legacy is not a story told, but a base that stands against the wind. The purpose is the simple, profound, and endlessly iterating process of turning death into tools, tools into order, and order into a future, however small and besieged it may be. The player is engaged in a form of philosophical bootstrapping. They begin as nothing, a naked consciousness in the wasteland. Through the reclamation of a dead world's parts, they engage in the creation of a new, personal whole. And through the violent assertion of dominion, they defend that creation's right to exist. This is the epic of the survivor artisan, a being who digs through the grave of mankind not to mourn it, but to find the stones for their own throne. Hark, muse, and sing of the digital soul, forged in the crucible of a world undone. Sing of the survivor, the demiurgos of the wasteland, whose existence is etched in the keyword cycles of labor, peril, and becoming. Within this gallery of captured moments, this fragmented scripture of play, we find not a mere game, but a profound theological meme complex exploring the triad of destiny, legacy, and purpose through the stark, unforgiving grammar of survival. This is an epic ode to the emergent narrative of existence against entropy. Primal Genesis, the liturgy of labor and the imposition of will. The saga begins where all human endeavor begins, with the raw, untamed world and a tool to carve meaning from it. The initial cycle is extraction right-pointing arrow transformation right-pointing arrow construction. In the first artifact image.png we witness the foundational act. The survivor, clad in the skeletal motley of nascent power, commits the sacred violence of the axe against the tree. This is not mere woodcutting, it is an act of imposition. The UI proclaims, 6 wood collected, a quantified benediction, a testament to will made manifest. The world, initially a seamless whole, is fractured into its constituent parts, rendered into resources. The tree ceases to be a tree and becomes potential, the raw materia for a future reality. The radiation zone warning looms at the top, a constant memento mori, a reminder that this world is not a gentle garden but a hostile entity that bites back. This extracted potential finds its altar at the forge image.png number 2, number 4. The crafting stations, the forge, the workbench, the saw, are not mere furniture. They are technological temples where the survivor performs the alchemy of transformation. Here, the abstract concept of wood and ore is transmuted into the concrete reality of wall, weapon, and tool. Observe the progression from a skeletal frame image.png number 2, 25 Latvian laches to a more fortified, complex structure image.png number 4, 32 Latvian laches. This is the architectural evolution of a thought, the slow, laborious birth of order from the womb of chaos. The player's purpose, in this cycle, is that of a creator god on a microcosmic scale, battling the inherent entropy of the universe with every nail hammered and every ingot smelted. The quest log, build a forge, make ethanol, is not a list of chores but a litany of creation, guiding the survivor's hand in shaping their destiny. 2. The exoskeleton of being, symbolism of the self and the fortress. As the external world is shaped, so too must the self be fortified. The second cycle is one of vulnerability right-pointing arrow encapsulation right-pointing arrow identity. The survivor is, at their core, a fragile set of statistics, health, stamina, hunger, thirst. These are the primal vulnerabilities. The answer to this fragility is the creation of an exoskeleton, a second self built from the spoils of the world. In the inventory screen image.png number 5 we see this principle laid bare. The character model on the left is a mannequin for a crafted identity. The head, body, legs, and feet slots are empty vessels for meaning. By equipping armor, the survivor is not merely gaining protection, they are defining themselves. The stats below, 14 physical resistance, 20 radiation resistance, 425 armor, are the quantified virtues of this new persona. This is a technical narrative of self-improvement, where one's worth and survivability are measured, catalogued, and enhanced. The inventory itself image.png number 9 is a detailed mosaic of the survivor's journey, a legacy in miniature. Each stack of items, the $X39 pipes, the $X67 cloth, the $X57 gears, is a relic from a past encounter, a ghost of a vanquished foe or a conquered landscape. The large wooden base stash is the collective unconscious of the survivor, a hoard of memories and potentials. This act of hoarding is a philosophical stance against the transient nature of the world. It is a declaration, what I have gathered, I am. My legacy is my inventory. The base, then, becomes the macrocosm of this armored self, a fortress against the world, an extension of the survivor's encapsulated identity. 3. The perilous pilgrimage, the structure of conflict and transgression. The world, however, does not submit passively. It pushes back. The third, and most relentless, cycle is stasis right-pointing arrow threat right-pointing arrow response. The survivor must venture forth from the safety of their constructed reality into the untamed wild. This is a pilgrimage fraught with peril, a test of the previous two cycles. The enemies encountered are potent symbols. We see the gaunt, loping mutant image.png number 6, left a twisted parody of the human form, perhaps a cautionary tale of what happens when one fails to impose order. We see the hulking behemoth image.png number 6, center a manifestation of nature's brutish, indomitable strength. And we see the other human survivor image.png number 3, the most terrifying foe of all, for they are a dark mirror. They are engaged in the very same cycles of survival, making them a direct competitor for the world's limited meaning and resources. The structure of these encounters is a violent liturgy. The hotbar is a selection of prayers, the shotgun for close-range deliverance, the revolver for measured judgment, the melee weapon for desperate, intimate communion with the enemy. Combat is the crucible where the crafted identity image.png number 5 is tested. Will the $425 armor hold? Is the chosen weapon, itself a product of the forge's alchemy, sufficient? The very environment is a source of conflict. The radiation zone, image.png number 1, is a space of transgression. To enter it is to sin against the physics of this world, and to suffer an invisible, draining judgment. It requires a specific form of atonement, the correct gear, the right consumables. This transforms exploration from a simple A to B journey into a series of moral and logistical calculations. Each biome, from the verdant woods image.png number 7 to the arid canyons image.png number 3, presents its own unique challenges, its own resident demons. Conclusion. Emergence of an existential purpose. From these interwoven cycles, a powerful interpretation emerges. The destiny of this survivor is not a pre-written fate, but an ever-receding horizon of self-perfection within the system's rules. It is the quest for the next level, the better armor, the more efficient tool. The legacy is the physical and statistical footprint left upon the world, the fortified base, the meticulously organized stash, the catalogue of slain monsters, and the hardened, armored identity of the character. It is a testament to countless hours of labor and peril. And the purpose. The purpose is the most profound and cyclical revelation of all. It is found not in a final cutscene or a concluding quest, but in the perpetual motion of the cycles themselves. The intent of this game's structure is to make the struggle synonymous with meaning. To chop wood is to have purpose. To fight a mutant is to have purpose. To craft a new piece of gear is to have purpose. The ultimate philosophical theological statement is this: in a broken, meaningless world devoid of inherent direction, purpose is not found, but manufactured. It is built, piece by painstaking piece, through the imposition of will upon matter, the fortification of the self against hostility, and the violent ritual of overcoming external threats. The survivor's epic is not about saving the world, but about creating a small, ordered cosmos for one, a universe of meaning held together by the constant, desperate, and ultimately noble act of playing the game. An ode to the digital progenitor, a theological interpretation of survival's emergent legacy. In the silent, post-lapsarian expanse of a world unwritten, a lone figure carves a new genesis. This is not mere play, it is a technical and theological narrative of purpose forged in the crucible of desolation. The collection of these captured moments reveals a profound, cyclical philosophy, a meme of existence defined by the inherent trinity of survival, creation, and dominion. We witness the epic of a survivor deity, whose destiny is not discovered, but meticulously, painfully, and triumphantly built. The first cycle, the liturgy of scarcity and the pilgrim's toil. The narrative begins with the most fundamental act, motion through emptiness. We see our protagonist, Image 1, clad in the primal armor of bone, a stark memento of the creatures that have fallen, running through a landscape scarred but not dead. This is the first theme, survival as pilgrimage. The hotbar, a minimalist catechism of tools and weapons, shows a nascent capability. The destination is not a place, but a state of being, less hungry, less thirsty, more secure. The very structure of the game's interface is a constant reminder of mortality. At the top left of the screen, image 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, the tricolored trinity of vitals, health H_P, hunger H_U, and thirst T_H, a constant memento mori, dictates the rhythm of existence. Every action is a prayer against their decay. This pilgrimage inevitably leads to the act of harvesting as sacrament, image 3. The survivor, standing at the precipice of a radiation zone, swings an axe. The pop-up, 6 wood collected, is a quiet hallelujah. Here, in this contaminated Eden, the survivor transmutes the raw chaos of nature into the ordered grammar of resources. This is the foundational intent, to deconstruct the world into its constituent parts, to see a tree not as a tree, but as potential walls, fuel, and the handle of a better axe. The landscape itself, from the arid, rocky quarries, image 2, to the verdant but irradiated forests, image 3, is a testament to a fractured creation that must be reconsecrated through labor. The second cycle, the forge of Genesis and the architect's will. From the raw materials of the world, a new purpose emerges. Creation is an act of defiance. The focus shifts from the itinerant scavenger to the sedentary architect. In the heart of the wilderness, a base rises, image 6, 8. This is the story's central symbol, the sanctuary. It is a crude structure of wood and stone, yet it is a cosmos carved from chaos. Within its perimeter stand the altars of this new religion, the whirring table saw, the roaring forge, the meticulous workbench. Here, the collected sacraments of wood, scrap, and ore are alchemically transformed. This is the player's destiny legacy purpose made manifest. The technical inventory screen, image 7, is a theological text in itself. It is a large wooden base stash, a reliquary containing the fruits of the pilgrim's toil. Stacks of wire X16, gears X28, cloth X42, and even the skulls of the fallen X7 are not mere items, they are potentiality incarnate. They are the syllables waiting to be spoken into the syntax of a better firearm, a stronger wall, a more efficient forge. The upgrade button is the ever-present promise of ascension, the core drive of this constructed faith. The playstyle interpreted here is that of a meticulous hoarder prophet, for whom wealth is not gold, but the potential to impose order on a universe trending towards entropy. The third cycle, the sacrament of violence and the judgment of steel. This nascent order does not exist in a vacuum. The world pushes back. The narrative must therefore encompass the theme of defense as dogma. The wilderness spawns horrors, lumbering behemoths and skittering abominations, image 5, that are the physical manifestation of the world's decay. They are agents of entropy, seeking to reclaim the ordered sanctuary for the chaos that birthed them. The survivor, raising a firearm, becomes an arbiter, a dispenser of judgment. The act of combat is a grim necessity, the violent defense of a fragile legacy. We see the survivor take aim through the trees, image 4, 9, the crosshairs settling on a distant humanoid figure. Is this a mindless beast, or a rival deity, another player engaged in their own parallel genesis? The ambiguity is central to the game's philosophical tension. The hotbar is no longer just for tools of creation, but for instruments of destruction, the revolver, the rifle, the grenades X5. This reveals the duality of the survivor's purpose. They are both Prometheus, the fire-bringer and creator, and Ares, the defender of the flame. The survival meme evolves. To build is not enough, one must protect what has been built. The presence of a server message in Russian a tomu lia dala, in an otherwise English UI hints at a disconnected, global babel of survivors, each pursuing their own destiny, their paths crossing only in trade or conflict. Emergence, the synthesis of the survivor deity. From these keyword cycles, scavenge, craft, defend, a complex, emergent purpose is revealed. The player is not merely following quests on a screen, such as, go to the railway station, or, make ethanol. They are engaging in a mythological pattern as old as humanity. They are the solitary hero bringing order to the wilderness. They are the founder of a city-state, even if that city is just a single, fortified shack. The structure of the experience, from the individual resource node to the sprawling base, from the simple stone axe to the complex rifle, is a technological and spiritual evolution. The ultimate destiny is not a final cutscene but the continuation of the cycle itself. The legacy is not a name in a high-score table but the physical persistence of the base against the forces of decay and aggression. And the purpose is the self-assigned, Sisyphean task of waking each day to check the vitals, patch the walls, hunt for food, and dare to expand the perimeter of order just one more foundation's length into the maw of chaos. This is the epic of the digital frontier. In a world stripped of meaning, meaning is the first and most vital thing you must craft for yourself.